am incredibly excited to welcome my Britt Happens guest for today, former Miami-Dade County Mayor Alex Penelas, who has returned again for the fun and is currently running again. He was the first strong mayor back when I was just 11 years old in 1996, and I'm excited to be obviously a lot more acclimated and aware of the local politics, and super honored to have you here on my podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Brittany. I've heard such great things about the work you're doing. Obviously, I've known your dad for a long time, so I am so happy that you invited me and looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you, thank you. So I have to ask, what made you decide to run again? Was it the lack of leadership, or you just had that itch?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. Public service is my calling. I very much enjoy public service, and that was my career for many years. I started at a very young age. I was elected the first time at the age of 25 in the city of Hialeah. And when I left the mayor's office in 2004, I was 42, and I was able to start a whole other career in business and learned a whole lot there, how the private sector works. But the other reason I'm running is because when I look at some of the issues that I care about, it doesn't seem like we've made a lot of progress. In fact, a lot of the conversations we're having today are specifically because we still suffer from income inequality. We suffer from housing inequality, from political inequality. These are real issues, educational inequality. We have not made really much progress. So I think that's part of what's happening now. There's all these issues have kind of bubbled up. Obviously, George Floyd was that was an issue that was horrendous, but I think it's brought to the forefront the fact that we have a lot of work to do.
Absolutely, and I'm happy that you mentioned that, because obviously this issue is nothing new, but the recent events with George Floyd has shined a light and forced us to look at the race relations, not only in the community, but the nation as a whole. And this is not something that I think can be resolved in a month, a year, probably not even 5 years, because the system and attitudes have been in place for so long. But I would love to know, what are your thoughts in terms of how we can move forward as a community?
Well, it starts with leadership. You have to have people like me to recognize that racism is real and exists. Mm-hmm. You got to start there. Right. A lot of people that kind of they ignore the issue, or they're skirting around it, or they're trying to deflect. There's no deflecting. I mean, racism exists. It exists in this county, exists throughout the country and around the world. So it starts there. I think number two, your leaders, the people, whether it's local, whether it's state or federal. You got to be fair. You got to be transparent. You can't stoke the flames of racism to advance your own personal agenda. Number three, there's got to be policies that are fair across the board. Now, I'll give you an example, Brittany. The last time we had a real race-based and gender-based minority contracting program at the county, when I was mayor, and I left 16 years ago. Okay. Now I understand the courts intervened, but then we had another disparity study that was done 5 years ago. It showed that there was disparity, especially in the construction arena. Okay. With not only Black, but Hispanic firms, and the county commission's done nothing with that study. So your policies, now everybody's running, everybody's jumping, everybody's, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, what have you been doing for the last 10, 15 years?
I completely agree, and you read my mind with my next question, because you've been here obviously a long time, done a lot for the community. But why do you think there hasn't been the socioeconomic tide in the Black community that we've seen in other ethnicities? And what will you do to significantly try to improve that?
Because there's no courage. Listen, let me tell you, in the private sector, I've made a multi-million-dollar investment in a city like Opelika, where I have hundreds of tenants of color. So, forget about what I did or didn't do when I was in public. In the private sector, I've done that. Okay. In the private sector, I want to see how many people have actually done that, to invest in minority communities. And I'm not investing with public money. I'm investing with private money.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been, walking the walk, not just talking the talk. But we need to do more of that. So my plan includes, obviously, you start obviously with policing,
mm-hmm.
obviously. Okay. When I was mayor, I supported an independent review panel and fully funded it.
Mm-hmm.
I very much support bringing that back now with real teeth. Okay. And that's not anti-police, by the way, because I'm not signing up for the anti-police group. Okay. I believe there is space for everyone to coexist. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs to be at the table. Okay. Right. And I think citizens' input is a positive thing. Will actually make the job of our police officers even that much better. So you start there, but you don't stop there. Mm-hmm. Okay. For example, I fought educational inequality. I'm the author, mm-hmm. along with David Lawrence, of the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Constitutional Amendment. 2 million children in this state have received that extra year of education. And that, by the way, across the board, it doesn't discriminate on white, black, rich, poor. It's for all 4-year-olds. I did that, okay? I dealt with housing inequality through my homeless program, which is still a model for the nation today. We need to tweak it a little bit. So I want to work on that. We've got to work on mental health. Mm-hmm. We have healthcare inequality. Okay. And healthcare inequality, Brittany, I think has been really exposed now through this COVID crisis, where you've had minorities, Black, brown, Hispanics, who have been more prone to getting sick, yet are thrust to the front lines of right. the response without the proper personal protection. Yeah. So that's all part of what I would do. But the most important thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to have a cabinet, a staff that's diverse, that looks like the community I represent. When I arrived at the county commission, ask your father this. When I arrived at the county commission in 1990, there was 1 Black and 1 Hispanic, and we already were a majority county. And I looked around to the county commission. I go, this doesn't look anything like the people I represent.
Right.
Okay. Because we had systemic discrimination. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I've always led by example. And that's what I'm going to do as mayor. Problems that we face as a community pre-COVID mm-hmm. have not miraculously gone away. Don't kid yourself. Right. All these people are saying, oh, the traffic problem is solved. The problem traffic is not solved. Okay. It is not solved. Okay. Even if 20% of us start working from home, we're still going to have a horrible traffic problem. Climate change was not solved by COVID. Sea rise was not changed by COVID. Income inequality was not improved because of COVID. Mm-hmm. So we've got to elect somebody that that has the ability to balance all those things,
right?
That happened before in the midst of a global health crisis, exasperated by a much needed conversation over race and inequality.
Right.
So please. I mean, that's what we're looking at. And when I look back at the 8 years that I was mayor, I mean, my middle name was crisis. I mean, I managed every imaginable crisis in town, 22 storms, okay, hurricanes. I probably sent you home from school a bunch of times, if you remember, okay, right?
Yeah.
The Gianni Versace murder, mm-hmm. followed by Andrew Cunanan, who was running all over town, the Fine Air crash, Elian Gonzalez, the aftermath of 9/11, which has a lot of parallels right. to what we're going through now. So, you need somebody that also has the business background to run a $9 billion company, because mm-hmm. the county is a $9 billion company.
Right. Absolutely. And you kind of segue into my question. I wanted to know, the reason that I moved back down to Miami, I left to go to school in Philly, moved to New York. I found that there was so much opportunity here, and I know brain drain is an issue, but I was like, I want to be an example to try to entice some of my peers to come back. How do we turn Miami-Dade into the world-class city or county comparable to, say, a New York City or a London, who were leading the forefront? I think all of the variables are here, but it just hasn't happened.
So you've asked kind of 2 questions, and I do want to answer them both. It's not just the global city, but you talked about brain drain. I want to talk about that as well. Okay. If we want to be a true world-class city, we've got to have a true world-class transportation system, which we don't have. And we could do a whole other podcast just on that. And I have very, very specific ideas on transportation. I was the author of the 2002 People's Transportation Plan. I left a 30-year vision, a living, breathing document to expand rail, expand our bus system, only to see the vast majority of that money grossly misspent over the last 15 years. We could have another conversation about that, but we need that. I think our education system is good. That's a positive, but we also have to diversify our economy. We've got to be able to provide jobs that are not only in these lower wage earning industries. Listen, they're good industries. Both of my parents, when they came from Cuba, they both worked in the hospitality industry. So thank God for that industry, but it is a low paying industry. Okay. And we've got to lift up professional services. We've got to lift up financial services, logistics, technology. There's all these other industries that I think need to be lifted up. Let me talk about brain drain for a moment, because my economic recovery plan is all about local. And how does that address the brain drain issue? It addresses it because we need to buy local, we need to vacation local, we need to eat out local. We need to make sure that we use the power of the purse, not only to keep our jobs here, okay, but the profits. And that's where the brain drain problem is. Okay, so we have some jobs here, but then the profits go somewhere else. And then folks are sitting around saying, well, I can't afford to buy a home. I don't have the money for a down, because the profits are not staying here. And the wages that you earn in some of these jobs are barely enough to pay the bills at the end of the month. So I have very specific plans, and I think we've had almost, how can I call it? The planets have aligned. The planets have aligned with everything that's happened, especially with the need now to invest as a result of the economic downturn after COVID. I think it's a perfect moment to deal with, as we deal with economic recovery, to rebuild our infrastructure, to deal with our water and sewer deficits, septic tanks, mobility, and at the same time deal with the economic inequalities that are at the underling of everything we're talking about. There is economic inequality by if we keep those jobs here, then you know what? We're going to have enough for everybody. Now, with that, we need to have a true minority contracting program, which I also plan on bringing back as mayor.
Right. You mentioned transportation is, I'm just talking for me, huge. And I think a lot of people here. Equity in contracting is a big issue and frustration which you've addressed. So I'm excited. Economic empowerment is like my middle name. You said crisis was yours. I'm all about economics. So another frustration I hear from people, we spoke local, but for companies or businesses or organizations that want to do work here locally, sometimes they complain that Miami-Dade is too political, it's too much work, and they leave. So what's your response to people's concerns with accessibility and being able to adequately do business here in Miami-Dade County to help diversify the economy, like you mentioned?
Well, if you're talking about specifically public contracting and public opportunities, we need to be open. We need to be transparent. We need to have different categories of bidding processes. Okay, you shouldn't have to necessarily hire a lawyer and a lobbyist just to get a $100,000 contract. I think there's ways that we can bifurcate a lot of our contracting opportunities to allow small businesses who don't have the resources to hire the top guns from downtown, to compete. At the end of the day, Brittany, remember that our economy is made up of small business. Yeah, we have a few big names out here, but the crux, the foundation, are small businesses. So I think there's an opportunity, again, because of the moment we're living in, to significantly alter our procurement rules to allow for greater flexibility, and I'm all for that.
Okay, thank you. There's a major disparity here in distribution of wealth. So do you have any further thoughts of how we can facilitate bridging that gap?
Yeah, so listen, again, in the last 10, 12 years, that disparity's grown. Okay. The middle class is shrinking big time. Okay. You got some people that have a lot of money or very wealthy, but then you got a whole lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck. And that has been exposed now because of COVID. Right. I mean, every day I'm out there at these different food drives. I was one in Hialeah yesterday. The cars were lined up from Goodlett Park all the way to Okeechobee Road. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars. Okay. So the need is real. And by the way, that wealth disparity existed before COVID. It's just been exacerbated. So some of the ideas I shared with you earlier in terms of making sure that we are using the power of the purse here locally, but not only with jobs, and jobs are important, good paying jobs are important, but the profits, that's how you build wealth. Okay. Our home ownership levels in Miami-Dade County are very, very low, especially among minority communities, Blacks, Hispanics. We've got to work on that. And then those who rent are cost burdened because the rent is high, and in relation to the money that they earn, they're spending a greater percentage of their wages just for the roof over their heads. And I think one important way of dealing with that is home ownership. I have very, very specific plans on the home ownership side and on the rental side. That's been my business in the private sector. Okay. And again, I'd love to share with you many of those ideas. It would probably take up another podcast. Right. But I think that's where my private sector experience is going to be a real plus going into a new term as mayor.
And like you mentioned, it's very valuable to have the business savvy to apply to this position, because in my mind, you're running a business. The county is a business. Yeah. You're
hiring and firing people every day. You're appointing a cabinet. You're signing 26,000 checks. Paycheck. Yeah, it's a business.
Yeah. Okay. Please tell me about your family. I mean,
that's what I most enjoy talking about, because I started my career in politics as a single man. Met Lily 27 years ago. We married. We have 2 adult sons. They are 25 and 23. One's a finance major, graduate from FIU. My number 2 son is just finished his 2nd year of law school at UM, where I went to law school.
Congrats.
And then 8 years ago, we were blessed with a big surprise. And she has been a blessing. In fact, tonight I'm looking forward. Fridays are her family movie night. And I think Disney just came out with a new movie. I'm not sure exactly what the name of it is. So whatever I do today, I'm going to be done by 6 o'clock.
Okay.
We're gonna put the popcorn in the microwave, and we're gonna watch the new Disney movie. She's 8 years old. Her name is Alexandra, and she just finished 2nd grade, obviously under challenging circumstances. But I'm at a stage in my life, Brittany. I'm 58. I feel super energetic. I feel I still got a lot left in the tank.
Really?
At a stage in my life, I'm at a stage in my life where I just don't have to take BS from anybody now. I don't.
I love it.
I'm doing this because I want to do it, not because I have to. A lot of people run for office because they have term limits and, what's the next job? I gotta run for the next position. That's not why I'm doing it. Whatever the county ends up paying me as a salary, trust me, is going to be a pay cut for me. Pay cut. So it's very liberating that I'm able to do this because I want to, which means I'm just going to do what I think is right, period, end of sentence.
That's so refreshing, because that is very rare here. And I think your motivators are completely different than someone who's going into this because they don't, no shade to anyone else, have another option.
Now, let me not kid you. My wife would rather I not do this. She thinks I am insane. Okay, certifiably insane. She says, Alex, we're living a calm life, and you're going to get in the middle of all this. I'm very much at peace because I really, I'm a spiritual person, and I do feel that we are put in certain positions at certain times for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay. And the events of the last 3 months, to me, were very revealing as to why I decided a year ago to do this. Because I'm going to be, I think we need a common sense, fair, even-headed individual who's going to take the facts, right? Take the circumstances, make the best possible decision, and then move forward. And that's what I'm going to offer. Not worried about the next election or what am I going to run for next. I don't care about that.
You're focused on the task at hand, which is refreshing. Like I said, and I love the transparency. So this is my last 3 or 4 questions. I call this the fire round. So I'm going to ask the question and then you just spit out the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
What was the last thing that you ordered on Amazon?
My silk vanilla soy milk creamer.
Okay, very specific.
Very specific. It's got to be Silk brand.
Okay.
Vanilla soy milk creamer. I'm very particular about my creamer.
Is that how you stay in shape, or is this you just?
I would try to work out every day. So today was my Pilates day.
Okay.
I try to swim 4 times a week. I do laps.
Nice.
I love swimming. It's a great exercise, and I can't answer the phone. No one can reach me when I'm swimming.
That's very true. It's a good way, right? I definitely love to work out. I like HIIT, and I like to run on Rickenbacker for like a stress relief.
Oh, I love Rickenbacker. My number 2 son went to Mass Academy.
Oh, me too. He's a Mako.
So when we carpooled, there was 4 families from the Miami Lakes area. And we carpooled, and I loved the week that was our turn because I would stay. I would take them to school, and I would stay and just walk the bridges, and I loved it out there. Loved it. Okay,
yeah. So you're very obviously familiar. Okay, if you can have one superpower, what would it be?
Wow, the ability to go back and correct mistakes.
Ooh, that's good. Okay. If you had a 100% chance of succeeding, what would you attempt to do?
Make my family as happy as possible.
Oh, that's very heartwarming. Okay. You have a concrete plan. Can people find this on the website, or how can people?
Sure. Okay. Sure. So I have actually 2 websites. Bold Vision PC is my political committee, but also AlexPenelasForMayor.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. There's a lot of COVID related material there, but I've also laid out my 5-point economic recovery plan, my transportation plan, environmental plans, a lot of materials there. And you could also follow me on Facebook, Alex Penelas, friends of Alex Penelas, Alex Penelas for Mayor. And we post a lot of, issues that are important. But also it kind of keeps track of my activity. And then our Twitter page is more where we try to lay out some statements on issues. My personal Twitter is Mayor Alex Penelas, A Penelas. And then there's an Alex Penelas for Mayor Twitter, the official campaign one as well. So yeah, we're all over the place.
I was going to say you're everywhere, and worst come, people just can Google and find you. I love following the account. This was more fun than I even anticipated. So this Friday is kicking off.
Why, you thought I was some boring politician?
No, I mean, I can sense your personality through the amazing things I hear, and obviously following you on social media, but it's nothing like, hopefully.
Ask your dad. Your dad knows I'm a cool dude.
He does, right? He is extremely brilliant. He had a whole bunch of good things to say. So I was really excited to finally have my one-on-one, and hopefully we can see each other in person very soon.
Absolutely. And thank you for the good work you're doing. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much. Enjoy Disney and your weekend, and I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.